What's going on, guys? Strac Views back with another reaction video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we will be reacting to how Trump's military actions could possibly screw Canada over in 2026. Let's jump right into this, man.
With us now is CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, good to have you back once again, this time as we kind of take a step away from the here and now and look ahead to next year. What are the political stakes for Donald Trump when it comes to those negotiations that are expected, or the renewal, the re-examination of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade deal?
You know, so many people, of course, are looking ahead to the midterm elections, but there are going to be so many political landmines for this administration to have to deal with even before we get to November. And perhaps I think the biggest is going to be what will take place with those negotiations over Kuzma, because we know already the president has signaled that he could and perhaps likely will walk away from this massive trade deal. And that's going to have enormous economic implications, not only for the United States, but for Canada as well. And certainly, given the cooling economy right now, the jobs outlook in terms of rising inflation and unemployment, those and what the president does on that trade agreement will certainly have a tremendous impact on all of that. And what the president does will have tremendous meaning for the global outlook as well.
The conversation surrounding this deal, Eric, has become so important here in Canada, of course, but do we have any signals on what it is that could potentially make Trump walk away from this?
Well, it's his own words and what we've heard specifically and directly from his U.S. trade representative back in November when public meetings began in earnest here in the United States. And of course, the administration was hearing from a number of key individuals and organizations as it relates to Kuzma. What we kept hearing over and over, even as industry and academics and others were singing the praises of this regional free trade agreement, it was the administration itself that continued to say that they believe Canada was giving the United States a raw deal, and the president could very well walk away. Now, all of this could be about negotiating tactics. We know Donald Trump is very good at trying to set the stage for that. But nevertheless, given how the president...
That's what I've been saying. Trump, he kind of moves like a dictator, man. He moves like how these other dictators around the world be moving, you know? Try to make a deal, try to make an agreement, propose something, Not really in a respectfully manner, more so like I'm demanding it type of thing. Like, this is how I want things, It's not really about business and respect and a friendship and just being mutual with each other. It's not at all. And I really do see that, honestly, because the things that goes on and the things he says, it's like it's an agreement or we want to talk about this, then 1 minute it's a cutoff. You're not responding when there's talks or when there needs to be a discussion held or a meeting held, you're ignoring it. And then it's a never mind. You don't feel like it, or, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. And then it's like, okay. It's like, how can people truly take you serious? You're just going against your own word. At that point, it's like, they don't even see us as a threat. It's more so like foolish. That's what a lot of dictators do, They try to manipulate so that you can just fall into their ways, man.
Has talked about Canada stage for that. But nevertheless, given how the president has talked about Canada and more importantly, how he's acted, again, this is very much, I think, a very real concern.
All right, so from negotiating tactics now to military action, Eric, and when we look at what's happened recently, the tankers in Venezuela, the presence in Greenland, I mean, these are big military moves. What could they signal for next year?
Yeah, and I think this is something that Canada also should be deeply worried about. Just recently, we have seen missile strikes in Nigeria. The president has named an envoy to actually negotiate Greenland becoming part of the United States. And when Donald Trump came into office, he made clear that he would be willing to use what he called economic force to actually take Canada as well. And so when you look at the military aggression in Venezuela, Canada has an enormous amount of vast natural resources. And that is what the play is for Donald Trump and his ambitions to bring Canada under U.S. sovereignty has not waned at all this year. In fact, when you look at the moves that we're seeing in places like Greenland, Venezuela, Nigeria, I think that only puts a bigger target on Canada. And I think how the president deals with Kuzma also is going to play massively in his belief and his thinking and his ambitions that Canada should be part of the United States.
Which is notable, Eric, that that's still very much on the radar, because in Canada, of course, the reaction to the entire 51st state suggestion conversation has been everything from, laughing it off as a joke to that very serious message of Canada is not for sale. But this is still very much in Trump's sights.
Absolutely, it is. And it hasn't gone away, which is surprising, because oftentimes when Donald Trump says things like this, wanting Greenland, oftentimes we see it as bluster, that this is the president being just a master showman.
But I know, yeah. He wants everywhere. If he could, he'd take the whole earth, man.
When you look at actions, Canada is still the only G7 nation that does not have a free trade agreement with the United States, save for Kuzma. The president continues to see tariffs as a really good thing, even though they're debilitating both for the U.S. and Canadian economy.
And that's another thing about it. It's so old-fashioned. Tariffs are so old school, played out. There are better, more official ways, mutual ways of going about business in deals, in trading aspects with other countries. We do not have to place tariffs on people. We do not have to do that. They can place one right back on us, honestly. We do not have to turn that into that. But like he said, he's not really open to learn or to go through the process of any other ways, as far as executing trade deals with Canada. He is stuck on tariffs. Tariffs are the main original way that he's always felt was good. And he feels that this is the way to go. Tariffs are that strong point, that will always play a huge factor, I guess. But it's not. It's literally showing, Canada is literally showing that all these years, how the U.S. has been doing this for all these years, they are the first sovereign nation to be like, you know what? Screw that. We not doing that. Who's to say that we need them? We could take a bigger risk and be on our own and actually be fine. So is it really a risk? At that point, if you know that you'll be fine on your own, or the possibilities and the new opportunities that can be held up instead of passed, instead of passed off from other countries, what? You could be expanding your economy. People could have more jobs, homeless people, better housing, people in stable housings, they have jobs. There's a lot of projects that need to get done. So I think homeless people would really appreciate having construction jobs, building up a pension, a 401k, saving. Come on. It's just, I have it all in my mind. And Carney is literally doing that. And it's like, well, we don't really need the U.S. because they wasn't really helping us with this before anyway. So we're going through all this beef and this and that, but we still got these issues here. Come on now. And that's basically what's going on.
Good thing, even though they're debilitating both for the U.S. and Canadian economy. And more importantly, we're talking about more than a century of friendship, alliance, and partnership. And Donald Trump has already attempted in every way imaginable to blow that up. And the reason, of course, is the president believes that he can weaken Canada and in doing so, make it that much easier for the United States to overtake the nation.
Well, before we let you go, Eric, on that note, how are tariffs going for President Trump around the rest of the world? Because we knew that at one time this was very much not just a Canada conversation.
That's right. The president, it's been basically the U.S. versus the world, as the United States has placed massive tariffs on all nations across the globe. And that is going to be, again, another sticky issue for the president in 2026, as the Supreme Court is expected to rule once again on tariffs. And this has been Donald Trump's signature economic policy. And for the president in 2026, as the Supreme Court is expected to rule once again on tariffs. And this is
really?
has been Donald Trump's signature economic policy, and the Supreme Court's decision will be crucial because it will ultimately determine where the power to implement tariffs lies, either with the executive branch squarely in Donald Trump's hands or with Congress. And that will certainly
Congress. It got to be another thing that has to get passed off. I don't understand. Our president doesn't even have the power like all these other world leaders do to do what he wants in his own country that he's in charge of. You might as well let it go through them as well. What? Just like any other law, any other thing that needs to get passed. That way stuff like this doesn't happen. Well, let's think rationally. You know, we got a table with what, 11 people sitting here? I don't know how many people it is. I know it's an odd number though. So these votes can't be even. They can't be tied up. So let's vote. Let's vote. It can't be no biased people either. That's the thing. And this is why we gotta do swap outs within our government. You know, our Supreme Courthouse and our Congress, we gotta do swap outs. Especially when the new people come in office. I like how they do the swap outs, but let's just see where it goes, I guess. We definitely need this voted. You know, this needs to be something held in someone else's hands. That way stuff like this doesn't happen.
shape Kuzma, Trump's hands, or with Congress. And that will certainly shape Kuzma, relations with Canada, and more importantly, what happens with those tariffs.
CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, a great conversation as always. Thank you once again.
This was an amazing conversation, Eric. Thank you so much for educating me today on this 2026 political issue that is still going on between us. Everybody feel free to share your honest thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Feel free to educate me, guys. Let's educate each other, you know? This is bad. This is not going to get good. We're in a new year with the same issues from the last year. Crazy. Feel free to share your honest thoughts and opinions in the comment section, guys. Feel free to check out the Twitch and the Discord in the description as well. That way you guys can keep up on the daily content, the live streams, and when we go through the Discord, looking at everyone's chats, pictures, videos, you know, just sharing different things about your country that I don't get to see. Everyone stay safe, and I hope to catch you all in the next reaction video.